do actually the range session. But if we look at posture straight away off the bat with those two, you can see that left hand one's got quite a curve there to the spine, very much like hunched over, like C spine we call that, okay, where your back looks like a little letter C basically. And as you swing now in the golf swing, there's going to be this sort of rising up through the backswing. Now if you start rising up in the backswing as you swing, you're now further from the ball than you started. So you've either got to drop your head, drop your body, or stretch your arms, or a combination of both. Your head doesn't really drop down that far, but you actually reach the golf ball quite comfortably because you have to sort of reach out for the golf ball. Now again, if you're reaching for the ball, it's very hard for your hips to do what they want to do, as in move towards target, because now you're focused on actually trying to reach this thing out here. If I was going to try and reach something way out in front of me, the thought of moving my hips laterally is just not really going to doesn't really come into the equation, does it really? So get your back in a much more sort of stable position, okay? So as we swing the golf club back now, you can kind of see head staying very stable there. There's a little bit of a rise here, but not exactly that much, okay? It's only from sort of, I guess, there as you sort of just start moving your head up there, okay? But at least from there, there's been less rise as you come back to the golf ball now, keeping there's a little drop there, I suppose, which is where you think, I'm not quite sure how far from the ball I am, and this is where you have to sort of practice and learn. But in terms of the stability of your head and your lower half now, that to me looks a lot more kind of stable, okay, with the movement. Good strike and twist through. Now your left foot spinning out there is possibly a little bit of lack of grip on the shoes there with your sole of your shoes there, okay? Or as you're swinging through, now you're just moving back this on your heel so that the foot can do that. As we move, we sort of move on to that front foot. I think because you've been sort of moving your body slightly differently, and as we said, your back now being straighter sort of freed you up a little bit. You've got more mobility to move. Okay. And you might find a couple of swings you do feel a bit like, oh, a bit out of control, just because now you've almost like taken the brakes off, yeah? When the back's hunched and round as it was, you can't really move that quickly and that fast, so you're always a bit up and down and making these adjustments, okay? Yeah. At least the strike on it was a lot better. I mean, you see that ball sort of towards target there. I think the follow through now for me, the club's in a really good square position there. We talked about that in the last lesson. So that club's more in line there with your left arm. That's great. I like the fact we had the club sort of pointing over here last lesson. So you really sort of improved that massively. So I like the fact you got that in a better spot. And now as you can unwind, it's a nice sort of stable base to sort of swing from. Just that foot action there with that foot kind of spins round. It's okay there, but then the foot sort of just spins round. Maybe a bit of lack of flexibility in the ankle, or just the weight a lot on your left. You sort of look as if you are leaning back on that left heel a bit more. So if the toes come off the ground, they're just going to pivot around there, I would have said. So that's maybe something to kind of work on at a later date. But for me, mainly the posture is the thing you've got to worry about, and keeping that back a bit more stable so you're not sort of rising up so much in the backswing. And I would practice as well, up against the wall. Just stand there, get your back nice, and it's almost like you're stretching out your spine, just from your own health perspective, really. If your back does start getting rounded and stuff, and you start in golf balls, you're good enough a golfer to hit golf balls from a poor posture. But you're going to do your back no favours by doing that constantly, and you're going to start reacting to where that golf ball is, and you'll get good at reacting. But the problem is then when you go 3 or 4 days later, what was that feeling again? How far I go? Oh, hang on, that's too far. Oh, Christ, shanked it. Okay, that wasn't front or top dead, okay? 4 or 5 holes in the round of golf, you've now ruined 4 or 5 holes by going blob, one, blob, blob. Now you're warmed up, now you feel different. What's that feeling? Oh, hang on, where the hell's the ball gone kind of thing? And we know with this game, it's only that much out to be a big bad shot, isn't it? Yeah? Doesn't have to be like feet out, so... Yeah. Okay, mate. So work on that posture. I say get that sort of up against that wall so you feel taller in terms of the spine, and then we can rotate a lot more freely now in that backswing, maintain that sort of head position. And as you come back to the golf ball, now it's reeling. We don't need to sort of drop or dip or stretch. Good strike in this case, as we can see. Lower half's working well there. Just that left foot now, because you're able to sort of rotate your hips a lot more freely because the back, I think you just probably turn a bit more than you're used to, which is why that foot just spun round a little bit. So okay, mate. Fair, thanks. Good stuff.